So, Digital Foundry has been answering a lot of questions about the PlayStation 5 Pro. Some people who play on the consoles, for the most part, what has happened is PlayStation has inadvertently transitioned a lot of console players into the life of a PC player. Now, frame rates, resolution, a lot of these things that didn't used to matter back in the day are now of tantamount importance to a lot of people who are playing on the PlayStation. Now, what's even worse is when it comes to the PlayStation fanboy and a lot of the crazy arguments on the internet, it even exacerbates the issue even more, thereby exposing inadvertently again that a lot of these console fans have no clue what they talk about when they actually point out hardware from the PC and the console side. Not saying that I know anything. I'm a pleb in my own right. However, having played on both of them, and seeing the best of both worlds, it's very interesting to, it's very interesting to observe all what these questions are popping up. And this Digital Foundry's, 190th episode has been to me one of the most important so far about the PlayStation 5 Pro because we've had enough time to analyze it. All of the, glitter and the honeymoon phase is over for the most part. And we're now getting down to the nitty gritty and a lot of the real questions underlying stuff. So let's take a look at this particular question that was asked to Richard on this podcast. And I think it's going to unveil something pretty interesting. So let me go ahead and give you guys your audio here and bam.
This one's for you, Oliver, I think. After watching your Stellar Blade PS5 Pro review this week, I came away a little confused by the array of options provided to users. It appeared, based on your analysis, that the quote-unquote Pro mode provided the optimal experience on every front, with both the highest and most stable frame rates and the best image quality and visual fidelity. In this instance, why even offer the four other modes, given that none of them trump the quote-unquote Pro mode in any meaningful way? Would it not have been a much more elegant user experience to only offer the Pro mode plus a high frame rate toggle for people with TVs that support 120Hz or VRR? And maybe hide the additional options in a sub-menu for anyone who wants to play around with them for niche academic reasons.
You see, this is the challenge that I find with a lot of folk that play on console is not all of you, not all console players. I play on console too, but majority of console players have made so much of a stink as to how all of the things that were beneficial to the PC gamer was a problem. Oh, you have to sit there and tinker with your settings. Oh, you have to do this and you have to do that. Oh, there's no reason for you to be doing this because, if anybody is doing something like this, then, they're not really interested in gaming. They're not really a gamer. All of these different things that I thought were quite strange. And even now that some of them are getting these options, look at the kind of question that they're asking. Isn't it peculiar to you, ladies and gentlemen, that this is the question that's coming out of this conversation? Like, oh, why bother giving these options to everyone rather than giving it to a select few who might benefit from it? I think it's really interesting at the end of the day, that this is a question that people are asking when it comes to actually, taking a look at the games that they play. Here's something really cool. Even back in the day when, you could argue that, for the most part, games had this, they had this limitation to them, right? In sense of what the game got or whatever it is. And, on console, even then on PC, you still had options and that was a thing, right? You go into options, you gave the player graphics options. This is a game, this is Arkham Knight, right? And Arkham Knight on PC had way more in terms of graphics options and all the others compared to the console version. And even yet, right now, even with the PS5 Pro, the options are limited to about, maybe in the case of God of War Ragnarok, about 4, which is already way, more than a lot of, PC players are interested in, right? And so what are most PC players doing at this front? They're asking and saying, why bother? Why is it a thing? It's very interesting at the end of the day, nonetheless, to just see, this kind of a concern come into perspective when this is absolutely beneficial for the player. Interesting stuff. Let's go.
I'm looking forward to that paper on Stellar Blade options. Anyway, do you think that for most people, using the PS5 Pro would be a more enjoyable experience if developers simply curated for them the optimal one or two modes that provide the definitive version of the game, instead of stressing them out with a deluge of options that they have to sift through?
Did you hear one of the Digital Foundry folks say "Wow" underneath the while he was asking that question? Because that's a very interesting question. Like, why bother giving us more options? Why not just pick him out for us and serve it on a plate? That's strange.
Yeah, so this is a what you might call a bugbear of yours, isn't it, Oliver? Too many modes.
Yeah, perhaps I'm going on a bit too much about this, but yes, fewer modes. No need to have the old modes in there, or if indeed you do feel compelled to put them in there, hide them. you know, don't show them as part of the standard menu, perhaps, and make sure you steer players towards those better modes. In general, I think you really want to make sure that everything is in really good form, it's QA'd properly, and it's clearly set up so that if you have more than one mode, you're clearly communicating to the player exactly what those modes do,
Right.
and you're making sure that every single one of them is a high quality mode that presents a legitimate balance between performance and image quality, or performance and ray tracing, or et cetera. These are
The limitation to that is simply this: a console doesn't necessarily have all of the many benefits in terms of hardware flexibility that a PC has. This is just the reality. Like, think about it. If you jump into the option menu of, say, a given video game, like, say, Gotham Knights, or, whatever it is, and you're looking at it, as you're sifting through the options, the game would be giving you, like, hints and pointers as to, hey, this is what this option is going to do. This is what this option is going to do. Like, it tells you and it clues you into exactly what it is that you need to know when it comes down to it. Let me go ahead and show you Gotham Knights menu on PC. For those of you who, I don't know if you guys played the game, but whatever, this is more for, according to that audience member, academic reasons, right? And I think you're gonna see something very interesting. So let's go to the options menu, and you're gonna see what I'm talking about. So if I go to graphics, why is my difficulty on medium? Weird. If I go to graphics, I already have, like, the option to switch the display that I want. This is a dual setup, so I can switch to either display, but I'm gonna keep it on the 1440 display. It gives me my GPU, tells me how much VRAM I have, and it gives definitions. Right? Some people have SLI based systems where they have two GPUs that are bridged and doing this. And what I'm trying to convey here is the PC has numerous components that the developers can, you know, curate different aspects to, and then do definitions of these little things for. The console, on the other hand, doesn't. So at the end of the day, what developers probably need to do is just define very well. They already do, but again, at the end of the day, they're just giving the options. They can't do all of this stuff here. They can't tell you, oh yeah, by the way, if you change the texture quality, this is what's gonna happen. No, 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 because that's just too complex. Like, you're gonna have a manual. I said, man, you're gonna have a dictionary published on the side of your graphics menu, and people will be looking and going, "Oh my gosh, what does all this do?" On PC, we're kind of used to it. Eventually, you learn once, and then you're into it, and okay, I don't want motion blur off. I don't want this off, and then you can see what would affect performance and whatnot. Because at the end of the day, these options are designed for visuals and performance. Simple, right? But there's a lot of them. There's a whole lot of them. So when I come in and I set up Gotham Knights, and a PC player is setting up this stuff, they either wait for somebody else to do it, or maybe when they buy the game, they look it up. All of these things really do, they really come into play when it comes down to how a player is engaging with the game and what all it is that they're doing. And so these are really interesting conversations being had. And I'm delighted, in a sense, anyways, that now the console conversation is actually right here, right? That everyone is talking about this, and it's not just relegated to, oh yeah, the PC players have to do all this stuff. No, no, no. Now console players have to also deal with the challenges, that they face as well, which to me I think really does exemplify exactly what it is that a gaming console should be doing, which is actually being able to provide games and provide options for somebody to play. The moment the console starts to jump into the proposition saying that I can give you the PC, the PC value and the PC paradigm with very minimal effort, then that's when, the lie basically fades away. And that's what we're seeing here right now. Interesting stuff in it.
Various priorities that we tend to see in console software. I think in particular for a game that doesn't use RT, you can probably get 1 or 2 modes that encompass a broad enough spectrum of player preference to end up.
That's going to be very hard to do. You just saw the number of options on this game. And so how would they be able to, give you 3 modes that they've curated for you from a plethora of options? It's going to be very difficult. So, they probably are in a weird conundrum, a lot of these developers right now, and they're UI developers and UX developers, because again, a user experience is a big deal. That's why they simplify console so much. And so now what they're doing is, the more they try to give you what PC gives you, they have to serve you all of the complexity with it.
Up with a good experience there. I think like 60 FPS mode, maybe an unlocked mode, maybe a 60 FPS mode, maybe a 30 FPS mode, things like this. That seems pretty clear to me. I think ultimately, though, this is a bit of a question for QA, and I think some developers are maybe just a little bit scared to say, let's take away some options from the player. They'd rather give you more options, because that's, in some sense, that can be a little bit simpler for them. I think ultimately, in terms of addressing player preference. But my own personal preference is, like, for sure, in an instance like Stellar Blade, you should basically be providing players with the game experience that is going to give them a solid experience out of the gate.
Then go for performance. Go for performance then. I have no clue why anybody would want to, complicate things more than they already are.
And if that means constricting players to 1 mode or 2 modes, if that means cutting down some modes and hiding them somewhere, perhaps, or marking them clearly as the old modes, I think that's a good option. Like in The Last of Us Part 2 and Part 1, they have Pro mode, and actually I noticed that every single time you boot the game, if you have it in the old modes, because they do have the old modes in there, the fidelity mode and the performance mode, the game will prompt you to switch to the Pro mode. It'll be like, hey, we noticed that you're launching this game in one of the old modes. You should switch to the Pro mode, because this is really the mode that we want you to experience. So there it's like you're getting a really good 4K 60 mode. They're always prompting you to use it. You still have the old modes if you want to do something like really high frame rates with unlocking the game's frame rate in VRR. To me, I think that's a good balance between these different priorities here. So if they need to go in one direction that involves multiple modes, perhaps that's the way they could go.
Interesting. Anyways, I want to hear your thoughts in the comment section. I am quite elated that we are now here in this conversation, and a lot of people are going to learn a lot. People are going to realize what what they are, what they're interested in more than anything. If they're interested in just playing the games, or if they're going to become tinkerers, just like the PC gamers that some of them have mocked over the years. Thanks for watching. Peace out.